and it's going to be moderated by Josh Sutherland. We have Dr. Henry Panion, Corrine Savage, and then you all know Keyon. He's going to be up on this panel too. And I'm going to pass the mic off to you, Josh.
All right. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Okay. All right. Cool. So, we'll be up here talking about a successful release, the entire songwriting process from start to finish. My name's Joshua Sutherland. I'm a City Music alum. I did Prep Academy, High School Academy, 5-week, went to Berklee. Now I'm working at HBO as a music coordinator and music supervision. But honestly, I'm excited to hear from these incredible artists, activists, musicians. So if you all would like to introduce yourself one at a time, talk about what you've done in the industry, and we'll take it from there.
Hello, I am Corrine Savage. I am a city music scholar, Berklee alum. I went to 5-week, maybe a year after you did, yeah. And I am currently a musician signed to Atlantic Records and signed to, thank you, and signed to Sony Music Publishing. I go by the name Karuk online. I am very much on socials, so that last convo, y'all were really dropping the truth there. That's what I do.
Again, my name is Keyon Harrold, trumpeter, producer, artist, signed to Concord, previously Sony. I like Sony. Concord, my new album is coming out on, and I finished it on Thursday. So I'm hyped. But anyway, yeah.
Hi, I'm Henry Panion, and I literally wear a lot of hats. I am a board member of Berklee City Music Network, and I've been affiliated with the program now, I think it's about 12 years, maybe. I am a professor at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I have my own site and studio. I have a record label, it's distributed by Warner. And among the all other things I do, I'm Stevie Wonder's conductor and arranger. I've been doing that for 30 years. So.
All right, so we have an hour, and we have to fit questions in. So let's jump right into it. I would like each of you to speak about your process of writing a song from the creation, whether that means collaborating with your peers, what the environment looks like. If you could just be as detailed as possible within your allotted time.
The process varies, right? But I'm really happy to say it all starts with the melody. The melody is important. You need to hear what Quincy Jones says about this if you've been fortunate to hear that. Because we're also thinking about careers, and that's what you sell, that melody. The beats. But I'm fortunate to work with a lot of different artists because my thing is bringing, like with Stevie, I'm bringing an orchestra to what he does. If I'm working with an artist, I just finished a project with Bootsy and Nelly, was a whole different thing. But it always starts with an idea because I'm thinking about, no doubt, I'm thinking about what that melody, that hook would be. What is the thing that's going to make people want to listen to this over and over? I do a lot of classical writing, so it's a whole different vein. But I think the common thread in my process, I want to know who the artist I'm writing for, what the purpose of the song or the musical work will be, where it will be heard. And I spend a lot of time on that first. melodies, I'm sure, like all of us, melodies come very easily to me, you know. And so, and the truth of the matter was, it was later in my career that I began to put words. I felt words were just a little challenging to me because, for one, when you start talking about words, you expose yourself, and I could hide behind the music. Um, but the lyrics that I have written, and we'll maybe get into some of that later, have been on some of the most instrumental and in, influential works that I have done, and we'll talk about that maybe later. But that's my process, and so, but it varies tremendously.
Man, seriously. Yeah, as a composer or trying to work something out, I guess we're just talking about the process of the starting vibe. I'm inspired by things. I'm inspired by life. That's what I start with. I start with, you know, typically when it comes to, you know, my music, when I'm doing something specifically for a sync or something like that, I'm going with the stuff that you tell me, what you're looking for, whatever the ad is. But when it's for my own music, it's definitely coming from a place of a very personal space. It might be about love or heartbreak, or it might be about family. It might be about something, a very real idea to me. And then from that, you know, sit at that keyboard, try to find a melody, something that sticks out, you know, try to produce something that, you know, that I can sing myself. And then at that point is producing it, you know, giving it bones, ultimately. That's my, you know, initial process when it's for myself.
So my only experience with writing is for myself. So it might be a little bit different. But I think that what I've found is that my biggest strength is just to tell the story the way that it happened, which can be kind of uncomfortable, but it's often the most effective way to do it. And so often my songs will start with a memory or an altercation or, you know, something wonderful happening, whether it's with my partner or with my dog or with my friends. And yeah, I will take that and I will start singing melodies, whatever kind of comes to mind. But I also often have, well, now I have a really big new tool, which is producing. I just took up producing the last, 3 years. And so starting a beat and telling that story rhythmically rather than melodically, or melodically instead of rhythmically. I kind of agree that it's just different every time, but I will say that my process is very much, what is the story, what am I trying to say, and say it how it is.
I have a question. How do you get the courage to write the things that are hard to write?
I really like you. That's a great question. Often I don't have it. Often I don't have the courage to do that, and sometimes it takes some time. But I think it's also like deciding, I'm going to make this, and I'm going to make it for me. And then afterwards, I'm usually so excited with how it sounds and how it's made me feel that I'm like, I have to share it. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're all music lovers here, and then once we use our love language of music, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, yes, I have to show this to the world, Just got to do it.
Okay, so I kind of want to get a little messy, being honest. So can we talk about writer's splits? I know you, Corrine, you and I had a conversation about it, but that's something that a lot of artists struggle with. It's going into a session, a writing camp, and do we talk about writer's splits before we start making music, before anyone sings a melody? Do we talk about it then? Do we wait until the product is finished? Or do we not talk about it at all, and we wait until it's time to release it, and then we're faced with filling out information to register the song?
That's a great real life kind of scenario, because it does always change, and a lot of times it comes down to trust. I mean, not that you can't trust everybody. But sometimes it is the kind of thing that you kind of know that if I come in and I play on this or I arrange this or whatever, whether I write any words or not, I'm getting 10, 15, I'm getting 20%. That's what I'm getting. That's going to happen. There are some scenarios where you write something and nothing makes it to the album, nothing makes it to the song. Then what? You feel it just depends, and it is very messy. And sometimes that one word or that one hum when you were sitting in the back and you were like, and it was like, oh yeah, that shit is dope. That's the hook. Cool. All of a sudden, it changed. You know, it's a whole process. I don't know.
Yeah, my experience is real along with this one. And it does vary, and I'm looking at a lot of young people. Give an example. You may be with your buddies and you're writing in your dorm room or whatever, and you're pitching your song, and you're going to divide that equally. And you know, if you all 10% of a dime is a penny. But if you get called to do a neo record, and the underdogs are involved, and they say, okay, well we'll put you on one track, but we're only going to give you a nickel. Well, you're going to take that nickel because I got 5%, because that 5% of a million is much better than 1% of a dime. So you got to think about these things when you're thinking about the opportunity. And many times you're leveraging yourself so that you can get to the next one. And I can tell you a classic example. I see these cameras on, and I'll give you one. I did Ruben Studdard's record, The Return. Neo's on it, produced it with the Underdogs. Scott Storch is on it. You know, he's going to get 100,000 K just to be on the track. I didn't get 100,000 K on that track. It was recorded in my studio and everybody's there. But I was asked to produce a track at the very last minute. And so I didn't care about that. So don't feel that, wait a minute, it's unfair. Life is just not fair in this industry. And it's not about fairness, it's about leveraging yourself, putting yourself in a position that people can hear you. Because that next one, you're always working for the next gig. So I know many times we think about that, and I just finished a project where we had equally split, about 15 writers on it, you know. And if you get some of these artists who will come in on the track, they say, I don't care, I'm gonna come in, I'm just gonna shake my tambourine, or I'm Timberland, right? And if he just puts one beat on it, he's gonna get paid for that. And you recognize that he did not do the work that you did, but that can't trip you up for one to participate and have the opportunity. And I teach at the university, so we always get these questions a lot about that. So, but you have to kind of give and take, right?
Absolutely, it's a give and take. And again, going back to the idea of the brand, if Just Blaze or whoever the hottest new producer comes in, and they just want you to be a part of the record, you might want to, especially if you don't have any placements, you might just want to be a part of the record and see what happens. You can play hardball so long. Sometimes it's good to play hardball. You want people to respect you as an artist, as a man or woman first. But sometimes you gotta be open and know that this won't be the only opportunity. I want other opportunities, and I want people to actually like me. When people like you, you can have a career, not just a one hit, you know, and that's also important.
Yeah, I think I was gonna bring that up. Like, as the artist in the room, you probably have the most power because they are they are writing the song for you or with you, hopefully. They're producing the song with you or for you, and you're in charge of whether or not that song comes out. And so those people want to impress you, and so you have that power, and you will, whether or not you like that reputation or not, you will have a reputation. And so whether you want to be known as somebody that plays hardball and will nitpick how many lines you wrote or how many melodies you came up with, or whether you want to be somebody that like puts the art first and makes the song really good and doesn't, nitpick everything. I will split everything evenly every time I'm in the room, and whoever works on the song afterward will get paid a fee and will often get a percentage, but that is also talked to the songwriters about. It's really about communicating whenever you are in that position of power. Yes, yeah.
What she said. Communication is key, though.
Right, in all things. So the songwriting process is just that, it's a process. So we talked about the start of a song and working out splits and where you're getting your inspiration from. So now let's talk about the release. So if you all could speak about what it's like registering a song, speaking about the different PROs, what you all go through for your own release and what that looks like for you individually coming from 3 different backgrounds.
So I was maybe more connected to the actual process of releasing this song mechanically on the internet, like through DistroKid or CD Baby or the many different ways you can release a song. I was probably more connected to that whenever I was not signed, because now I send my song to a mixer, and the mixer sends it to the mastering person, and the mastering person sends it to the label, and the label will send it to the publisher, and the publisher will send it to the PRO, and the PRO, they just goes on and on and on and on, and it is very separated from what I do. So my job as a person that likes my songs, likes my career, likes what I'm doing, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that everybody can hear it. And that means I'm on TikTok. So I am kind of my marketing person, and I think that a lot of people, me included, believe that when you sign to a label, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to work anymore. Like, I just make the song and I'm gonna sit back and they're gonna do all of this work and it's so cool. And I was like, I remember showing up to my first meetings being like, what's the plan? Like, what do we do now? And they're like, you go on TikTok. And I'm like, wait, I could have done that before. But yeah, it's my job, as you guys were mentioning in the last thing, like, it is my job to know myself, my brand, how I want these musics to be, this music to be heard and seen, specifically seen, because that's a huge part of the industry now. Like, where do I want them to place me genre-wise? Where do I want them to place me in a lineup of people, in groups of people? So yeah, that's my job, which is kind of probably different from what you guys are gonna say.
No, that's actually quite similar, because I was signed to another label, and again, when I was first signed, it was kind of like you go into this big meeting and it's like 20 people looking at you like, okay, what do you want us to do? Should we, what's your image? Again, like I said, it gets back to, you got to know who you are. You got to be able to stand in your truth so other people can be your microphone in that. So when you go in that room, you're already the package. You just got a few more people that are willing to send out your music, willing to do stuff for you. But you are still the CEO. You're still running the show. You're running the shots. Everything that you have to say, from your messaging to the way you look, everything like that, all that stuff is important to the release. And those people are going to basically set you up, 3 months, 4 months to your album, and get your ideas on what you feel like you should look like. I guess very few people, how many people have image consultants now? Back in the day, that was everything. But now, since everybody's their own social media shotgun, you can put out whatever image you want right now. If I want to be, I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but if you wanted to put out something crazy right now and start a new image for myself, I could do that right now. It's a little different. It's a little bit more accessible. So,
And it somewhat depends, too, on the contract. I think that my position is different. I wear all these hats, and I'm head of a label that's distributed by Warner. So even running a record label, I have to adhere to a lot of the wishes of Warner Music Group. So in many ways, the label becomes like an artist. They're telling me when I can release who I can produce, even if I sign them, and what they're going to do with their marketing teams when it gets to fall in line, that they can work it. When we first were signed, I think Elton John was coming out with a record the same weekend as ours. Now, we knew who was going to get all the team at Warner. It wasn't going to be my little record label. But we had to fall in line. But you mentioned 3 months. It backs up a lot further than that. But the one thing I learned about having several labels that we work with, the major labels, the Warner, Universal, and Sony, is that their mechanism for placement is something that even you can do yourself now. And so when we talk about the democratization of the industry, it's not that everybody can just get on social media. In many ways, that's made it worse. What can you do to make your project worthy of someone taking their time to listen to it or to see you? It is no joke that Taylor Swift has the imaging that she has. It is all very crafted and planned for years in advance. And so, and that's the way I work with these major artists. Well, there are certain things that you can do with the performance rights organizations, all the white labels and all the whitelists and all the things that has to be done mechanically that you couldn't be able to do before unless you had a major to that degree. So we could spend a lot of time going down in the weeds on this, but I think the one salient point is all those things about publishing. You want to make sure you can own as much as you're publishing, so that when he calls you to put it in a movie or HBO, you own a piece of that, and the label can't do that without your being able to say, yeah, I approve that. And I could go on in length about that, but I think I said some things that were a little different than even what you said. Yeah.
It also makes it a lot easier to clear when you have your publishing worked out and you own a lot of it. It's less of a hassle whenever you're looking for sync placements. A lot of people don't want to do the extra work of going out of their way and figuring out and reaching out to, tracking you down and figuring out your email when it's not listed. And we can't contact any artists because they don't make it accessible for us to learn how much of their publishing they actually own. So it's a great point.
Remember that person you had an issue with over the split anyway?
Right.
That's stopping this sync?
Yeah, exactly. So if if you all release a song, say it blows up on TikTok, you're getting thousands, millions of streams on Spotify, Apple Music, and people are reaching out to you all. How do you navigate the people who will actually have certain opportunities for you versus the people who just kind of want to connect themselves to an artist that they can see blowing up?
I'm not sure I quite understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I can rephrase it. So, how do you navigate? How do you navigate as an artist, learning to work through opportunities when A&Rs are reaching out to you, when you have people who want to invest in you and you're trying to learn, are they actually interested in me or do they just want to connect themselves to me because they see where I'm going?
To respond to that, I think that I've been fortunate enough to be in the industry long enough that I didn't start out as a composer trying to pitch songs. I was always called to either produce or to arrange or to do something that was basically a service for someone in a certain style. So now the calls, even from the creation side of composing, somebody calls me and say, hey, I want this. And it seems like in the last 5 years, everything I've done has had the word hope in it some kind of way. And I think I've now become that, this kind of tall black guy of hope or something like that. But that's been my thing. But the important thing I think I heard you say is that be careful about your brand and who you are. Because there's one thing I wanted to respond to, and that is, as much as you see Taylor Swift in the elevator on the latest commercial with her, that look, she's going to preserve her brand. And sometimes, how many artists that they do one thing and boom, we just can't cross that line. I think that's some of the last couple of years come to mind that we can really think about. But my point is, for me, I've been fortunate enough to always be concerned about my imagery. I'm an orchestra conductor, okay? So the last thing I can do to have done something that even someone perceives my work or my music to be in a vein that they may not want. I'm always thinking about that. You get one time to you build your name and your brand your whole life. And as artists, that's what we're doing. We want people to come to us. And of course, my great teacher has been Stevie Wonder, and he's a saint, but you don't know all the devils that are around him to make him be able to be that way, right? And be perceived that way. So for you, don't be so quick to have some A&R's person who sees you, you're cute, you look like that next artist. That's what they want to promote you as. But you know, that's not who you are. You know, that's not the songs you write. You know, that's not the persona you want the world to know you. And you're thinking that, well, do I want that paycheck or do I want to just kind of continue on? And I hope that's kind of answering what you were kind of asking. And I apologize if I wasn't.
You definitely going piggybacking off of you. You definitely want to be the artist known for you. You want to be known to be yourself. You don't want to be known to be somebody else. And so many times, again, people get caught up and get lost in the shuffle of trying to be the next Beyonce. You won't be. Why? Because there already is a Beyonce. So, you know, if you can be invested in the person that you are, people will see you as the person that you are. And they would, I don't know. I remember I used to be an in-house producer for G-Unit, for 50 Cent. I remember at the time, for a new producer to get on, you basically had to make these beats that sounded like Dr. Dre. And if you couldn't do that, they don't want to hear your shit. They don't want to hear your beats because we need these beats that we can pay $10,000 for that we don't have to pay $100,000 for. So if we can get a young cat who's willing to do that, there you go. And again, the minute you start to land that and you learn what that is, and if you don't have your own thing after that, after they've given you that microphone, you're just going to be another, and that you're going to get forgotten about. Because when the industry changes and the music changes and you don't adapt, it's over. So you have to be able to have your identity, even if you were making a Dr. Dre type. I'm kind of talking about a couple different things at the same time. But again, in the thing that you're making, make sure you still have yourself in it. Because if you only use Dr. Dre drums, and you can apply this to anything, if you only sing lyrics like Beyonce, if you only do runs like Beyonce, where are you in the equation? People can't even categorize you. They don't know who you are, you know? And I mean, that's, and long story short, that's what it is. You must show up as you. If not, you are somebody else. And at that point, why do I need somebody else? If you can't give me Beyonce numbers, why would I want you anyway? You can write her songs, or you can, I don't know, do something. Maybe you can show up for her, hold her bag or something like that. But until you can come in and be honest and find that place of your originality and your truth, you know, most people are only going to want you, you know, you're going to sell your soul, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the lesson of the day is to be yourself, which is kind of a funny thing that we learned in kindergarten. But it really just is true. It's just like, because there is nobody like you. There's nobody like Beyonce. That's why Beyonce is Beyonce. You know, there's tons of people trying to be Beyonce, you know? And to talk more about the question of like, weeding out these opportunities and who is for you and who is trying to make a buck off of you. I can really just talk about my own personal experience, which was I had a private SoundCloud link of my songs before I had released any under the name Karuk, which is my artist name. And it like went viral like just behind the scenes. It was a private link. Tons of A&Rs had it. Tons of songwriters had it. They were just like texting each other this link, and I had no idea who was doing it, but it was out there. And I had just started talking to my manager, who I'm very lucky to say is somebody that I have known for a very long time. Maybe wasn't connected to my entire life, but we actually like kind of grew up together. I knew her from middle school, and so I had an immediate trust with her, which is important. Whoever your team is, you have to trust them. And luckily, she was able to kind of herd all these people into one place and get us meetings. And there were 2 labels that I was really in between, and one was Atlantic, and one was another label that I will not disclose, I guess. But it's funny how it turned out. The guy at Atlantic that I signed to is a crazy person. He talks in metaphors. He will sell you on the fact that he's going to make a roller coaster branded after your artistry, and he's telling the truth. He truly believes what he is saying in the best way because he believes in music. He believes in art. And I thought, that's crazy. There's no way I'm signing to him. He's crazy. And then the other people, they were very, very sweet, personable people. And, you know, I really enjoyed talking to them, but I didn't get a sense of inspiration from them. I was like, I'm so inspired when I talk to this guy, but he's crazy. And then you over here, like, I feel like I could be your friend, but I have no idea if you've even listened to my music. And I feel like you guys are laughing because you guys know this story too. Everybody does this. And it is funny because I signed to the crazy guy, and I'm so glad I signed to the crazy guy because we just sit there for hours and talk about crazy music stuff, and he doesn't ask me about anything personal, which I enjoy because it's, you know, it's business, and I love talking about music, and I have other people to talk about my personal stuff with. And then the other guys that I almost signed to, they like left the label like 2 weeks after I almost didn't sign, or I almost signed to them and started working and managing another artist, and I would have been kicked off the label 2 weeks after signing. So it's not just know yourself, it's know your team, know the people that you're working with, and also just like, I feel like everybody here, like while we might use social media to our benefit, I think we all know here, having a foundation in music, that is what is important, that the music is important, the songs, the art, the whole package, that is what is important to us because we're coming to make music. We're not coming to be famous, you know. That comes often with it, but just make sure you follow your gut about the people that are talking to you about music, because that's what I want to talk about. And if, you know what I mean, like if we're in this business for music, like you want to be talking about music.
That's a great point.
Can I talk? You know, I think that we both are, we're sort of like we are saying one thing, but in the back of our minds we're thinking some other things too, and that is, you want the opportunity. And, you know, we all been name dropping here, but very recent, the last few months, I had a conversation with Lionel Richie. And Lionel was talking about, you know, he's from Alabama, so he was talking about his experience with the Commodores and how they were signed to Motown. And in those days, I mean, it was beautiful because they really did do A&R, and which is not just the song, the shotgun approach they take now with the major labels. It was developing you. How do you walk? How do you carry yourselves? What you're going to look like when you talk? How are you going to stand up? Can you hold a fork and not look like you just came out of a cave? I mean, it's all these kinds of things they were working on to help you develop yourselves. So it wasn't just molding you in a negative way. It was trying to mold you in a positive way. And he talks about how he hated just being, he felt he was at the end of the hall. The Commodores was down at the end of the hall in Motown, and they just kept passing everybody up, and their sign, like, when are my records gonna come out? When their records gonna come out? You know, and they was like, they're there for years, multiple years before you even heard the Commodores record. And this is this discussion that even the great Lionel Richie it still remembers, that's ingrained in his brain. So it's two sides to this coin to kind of think about.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So if you release a song, it does really well, you sign to a label or you decide to continue working independently, and you put out this next project that doesn't do as well. Can you speak about that feeling and that process of what it's like to work on something, put your heart and soul into it, and it doesn't get received by the audience the way you thought it would?
So I think that as an artist today, you are releasing music every day by putting up a TikTok, or maybe not every day, but you are doing that process over and over and over again until the actual song comes out. And so it's kind of changed the release day feeling, because you feel like the whole, maybe not the whole world, but the people that wanted to see it have seen it. And, that's that. But I think that it's really important for all of us to think about, I feel like the industry has made release day this big thing. New Music Friday, release radar, all of these like release day things. And so we build up this idea of what a release is supposed to be. And I'm supposed to go viral before the song comes out, or I'm supposed to go viral by the day that the song comes out, or the day it comes out, or whatever. But we have years and years and years and years of our careers, hopefully, to make that song do whatever it does. And sometimes, especially now, like TikTok is picking up songs that were released 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. Kate Bush, she was the biggest thing last year. Kate Bush released her album in the 80s. Like, that was so long ago at this point. And I mean, for Release Radar, and so I think it's important for us to think about the longevity of our lives, of our careers, of how long we want to be doing music. I have so many songs that are online that did not do what I wanted them to do, but I still have faith that one of those songs is going to be placed in a television show in 3 years, and it'll be the biggest song of my career, and I'll be like, oh man, I don't even like that song anymore. Like there is so much time for us to grow tired of our stuff and to have those opportunities happen. And don't put so much pressure on the release day, releasing a song, posting a TikTok. It is a long career. It is a marathon.
Facts. Trust the process, ultimately. I mean, I'm a parent. There's many parents here. It's like you want your kid to be the number one in everything. But sometimes you really see that it's going to take some time. Sometimes they're going to hit it out the park. They're going to hit a home run, and it's going to be a great day. But the next day, they might not even get put into the game. Then how do you feel? You still got to have grace for yourself and trust that, I'm going to keep this going. Because, again, like she was saying, these songs have an interesting way of finding new lives in different places, in advertisements, in films, or some young person samples it, and all of a sudden you popping again, like you never left. And that happens over and over again. That's the beauty in music, that music is not just a one thing, it's not like a meal. It's not going to go bad after you set it out. Eventually somebody else will find it just like gold and remine it, and all of a sudden there's something beautiful again, ultimately.
Maybe one of a better question, or a better way to think about the question would be not about your second record, your sophomore records. There's a whole bunch of books even on the sophomore project. What would you do and how would you feel if your first record didn't blow up? Would you still have the same kind of interest and excitement and all the things that brought you to being a musician and an artist in the first place? Would you allow that all those years and songs and hundreds of songs that got eliminated to make your first record, and you think it's the best record that's been out there, and it probably is, but then it doesn't blow up, and then you have to go in because the record label says, okay, we need to have half of the record done in the next 6 months. When you've worked on, you said in the 80s, 2 or 3 years, maybe more on a project. We are in this profession because we love music. And one of the things as a producer I always say, and talk about the phone call and the artist, people will call you when you've done something that's blown up. And they always want you to produce or write something in the style of the last hit. That's just the way it's going to always be. So you always have to turn out the craft. But you're in it because you're a craftsman. I mean, you are in this because you're a great artist. And one of the things I always tell our students, from young students outside the university all the way through, basically pursue your craft and basically know that if you have something to offer, there is a place for you. It is definitely not about fame or fortune. There are a lot of ways to do that. And I think that so many artists, they're really not true artists. They only care about being paid. And everybody wants to eat. And I think I'm the OG in the room, right? So, I think somebody called me that and I got insulted. Actually, it was Israel Houghton. When first he said, you're an OG. I said, what are you talking about? I'm OG. So but anyway, you get that?
Yeah, so thank you all. At this point, I'd like to open it up for any questions. If anyone has any questions in the room.
Hi, thank you very much. I have two questions, actually. Given the idea that for yourself, for your creative self, how do you see current music education, especially in pre-K through 12, reflecting and supporting that? And then how soon do you think composition and songwriting can be introduced in a young person's life?
Boy, may I jump in first on that one? I deal with this every single day of my life. So the beautiful thing about programs like, let's just call it GarageBand, because it really began to democratize making music. Yes, you can put your loops there, but it's those other things that it allowed people to do. See, in our society, we typically train people out of music, out of the arts. They start here, they get trained out. You're not good enough at this level. You're not good at this level. And you're really not good enough at this level. There are other cultures in the world that still feel that everybody should be participating. So what I always do is try to say for young people, and I work with a lot of teachers. We have them come into our program at the university sometimes they're coming in just because they want that AA certificate in advance credit. But one of the things we started doing, we recognized that they were not trained. They were just as fearful talking about songwriting, because if some kid's gonna walk in there and start doing a 2 Chainz rap, they were just blown out of the water. So we started working with a school program, and guess what we started doing? We started making the schools adopt the Pulse program, and Crystal gave us the authority to do that. I got some of my students, and in that program were ways in which the teachers could begin to feel that, well, I'm a little intelligent. Because think about it, if a school system says, at the end of the semester, you got to do a recital. At the end of the semester, you got to do whatever it's called in a particular state, your auditions for competitions. The last thing they're going to do is go through the problem, because they don't know it themselves. They don't keep up with it, right? So we tried to find ways to make sure that even some of our interns and some of our teaching students had to do practicums would begin to incorporate that. In some of the classrooms, we literally had to take over. They allowed us to do, not take over this, taking the full curriculum, but these parts of the environment. So if you can find a way to partner with schools, I found it to be really successful for what our mission was. But there has been an evangelist. You got to have someone who's an evangelist who can willing to go in there and do that. That's the one thing that we did on that front. And then what we began to do is, to be honest with you, write step-by-step weekly guides for the teachers to follow that was almost like paint by number. And that's the only way it has worked for us.
I guess think about your own education, your music education in grade school. Does that support you now?
Yeah, well, I was about to say, I think I would have liked for music to be less competition-based. I felt like it was very skill-based. And I am a very competitive person, but I don't like, I loved the aspect of singing in a group, of everybody I know is singing the same thing, and none of us feeling like there was an age where that stopped happening, you know, where it was like, oh, this is, you can sing, so you're gonna go in the special choir, you know, and I think that that's the one thing I can say is I wish that it was less competitive and way more just all people friendly, because it would have probably driven my interest more younger. I didn't really start until high school, so yeah.
I guess it could have been more playful, or music could be more playful at a younger age, because kids, I think sometimes they're not, they don't have the opportunity to be trusted in their own creativity. When I see, you know, 3-year-olds making up songs, you know, seeing kids and trusting them with the resources that we have now, everybody can create, you know. You create on your iPhone, create on iPads, create all the way up through high school. I think the issue is sometimes when certain, like you were saying, certain kids feel like since they don't play the trumpet, since they don't play, or you can't play the piano, you don't have the license to create, or you don't have the respect that what you're doing is actually as good as someone else who can play, you know, the Haydn trumpet concerto. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is if somebody likes it. And the fact that so many kids are stifled in the idea that, oh my God, I can't even try it because I can't play. Or I can't try it because I don't have an instrument. I can't do it. You know, that's the biggest problem, is that they don't have the access. They don't have the instruments. They don't have the programs that would allow them to just be kids and be at play. Music should be playful, you know, to a certain point. So you can be creative, because if it's always serious, you know, why would I want to be in that? I want to feel good. I want to smile. I want to have a good time. I want to dance. I feel like, you know, we just need more of that. If that can be injected into things, to just. Sure, absolutely.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Get in there.
I was just gonna say, like, piggybacking off of you, like, also, just hearing you say not just playful, but like integrating more than one instrument. I didn't even do that until high school. It was like everybody sings in this class, everybody plays piano. Like, the concept of a band lived in my mind forever, but I didn't actually see it until I was in high school, and that felt like I was behind by that time, you know. I also would say that technology is a huge thing. Like, I remember I went to a performing arts high school, which was really wonderful, but there was one kid, and he like made the most fire like dubstep beats ever and would upload them to YouTube and have millions of views. And we all were like, oh, that's so weird. Like, you just sit in class. Like, you don't participate in anything. And I thought that was so odd that this extremely talented kid wanted nothing to do with whatever was happening, you know, because he already had his own thing, you know. And I think that his thing, I would have loved to learn. I would have loved to be in the class that he was in, you know, but there was no class for it. So I feel like, especially now, technology is a huge part of what we're doing and growing in every area. Mixing, mastering, producing, you know, even making demos as a songwriter. Learning that in middle school even would have, I don't even know where I would be right now, you know? I feel like that is a really amazing and inspiring tool that is not being taught enough.
Can I say one more thing? Yeah. When I was younger, everybody was required to be in general music. I don't know if anybody remember that. You could sit on, Crystal raised her hand, everybody had to take it. And you would have the general book that you would read from, you'd have blocks and things that you would participate in. And beyond that, we had standardized, not achievement tests, aptitude tests. To say that, I recognize this little spark in this kid. And the test would identify that, and you would get given more opportunities. So, and the reason I wanted Michael again, because I think that as I've had a chance to talk to a lot of the site leaders, guys, you have got to find a way to get in there, work with your superintendents in your schools, and don't even feel your programs, even as successful as they are, can't get in there and do things because that's what Berklee's about. It's about finding a way to reach those who don't have might not have a normal opportunity. And so we have to be that evangelist. So I think that what we have done, I've recognized that because I am at an institution of higher education, trying to train that one oboist who will be that one guy who goes, or girl, who goes into an orchestra and sit in that one oboe chair for 50 years. Because that's the reality of that position now. So then, but music is for everyone. So I'm really want to compel you, and Chris will know I've said this so much at our board meetings and I talk about this. It is a reason why Berklee City Music Network means so much to me. Because I'm seeing even the kids who are not able to come into my university program, not because they're not talented, they just haven't had enough pedigree, if I can use that word, to be able to get in. So, but we have to be the ones to do that. And I'm gonna get off my porch here.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
This is a question specific to releasing music. What role does the full-length music video still play in releasing a single, and does it matter? And does the timing matter? Because I feel like maybe, like, you know, when you grow up in the 90s, early 2000s, like, you're constantly associating, like, a hit with the music video it came out with, and I feel like now social media is making that really confusing for us. It's like, so do I release 20 seconds of my single and then, like, do it later? Do I just not care about a music video doing it? Do I need a budget for a music video? Like, I feel like the younger generation, like, the little kids are so fearless, like, they don't care about that process. They'll just release anything. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm a millennial, so I like get that middle ground because I loved music videos growing up and I have lots of favorites. And I have also seen the need for them kind of die down through TikTok and through these like 20-second videos, you know? What I would say to you is it's not necessary. It's not necessary for you to release a song with a full-length music video. However, what that music video does is a completely different thing now. It's not like this viral moment for you. It can be. It can be. If it's a really great video, you post it at a really good time in front of the right audience, it can be that moment for you. But what it really is now is it is a place for people that are scrolling on TikTok. They're like, oh, wow, I really like this TV show, which is you. They're like, I want to watch the full episode. And they go to your YouTube and they click on the video and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this video. And they you know, go through your whole discography, your whole series of videos. Music videos are for your fans. They're for your real fans, and they're for you to make art that is the real story that you're telling. These TikToks, these Instagram videos, whatever short little video we're posting is for the masses to know who we are. But that's not what makes you successful. What makes you successful is an art project that people find passionate and they see themselves in. And I think the only way to do that is through long form content, through full songs, through full music videos. So you don't need it, but it is something to invest in when you think the story is really right for you.
That's what I'm saying. When she said it, it's like, I want to just get up and just start rambling, you know. But again, you know, more of what she's saying, it too is another part of the story. Every time we create something, we have certain, you know, a certain number of opportunities to tell this story to a bunch of different people. Some people will just love the song. Some people need that visual aspect to help stimulate and take you deeper. Some people need the live performance of the record to become your fan. You know what I'm saying? So each one of these things are important, and they're a part of the process of releasing a song. You need all of these different tools. You know, you need the lyric video, you need the actual video, you need the song, you need all of these different things, and each one of them are important. If you got the budget for a video, vibes, do it.
You know, okay, I want to respond to this. you have to have the video. You just got to have the video. I'm on the side of it from the record label, and you're not going to be signed if they can't see you and recognize how they respond. There's still test markets that labels will use, and they have groups of people around the country. They want to know how they respond to your imagery, because that's what they're selling. Even classical artists, there's a new, nice classical, great violinist, well, other instruments too, 2 violinists, viola and cello, and this quartet. And I hate to say it, because it's very sexist, but their first project, they're all in mini red dresses, skirts. That's because they know the imagery is going to be everything. Now, the second thing is, boy, they really can play. But there's another part of this too. If you are not signed to a label, what you're thinking about is not so much maybe all your fans, but you're thinking about that performance venue entity that's going to book a group, and you need them to see what you look like. And so it's a mixed blessing in many ways, because it used to be that you know, it didn't matter what you look like. If you could play your acts at a level of virtuosity, then you would sign. But now it's a full package. So it's not that the artistry of the quality of the song, that is job one. But the marketing and the packaging of that is maybe job two. Well, as a record label head, once again, we still get boxes of stuff, CDs, packages every week. We have people who listen to, and you listen to a lot of things. We have people who listen to a lot of music. It's hard to get songs placed now. It used to be you can put your cassette. You guys know what a cassette is. you know, Maurice White was sitting at a restaurant somewhere, so you go by and he would eat there every Tuesday, so you put your cassette wrapped in the lyrics on his windshield, you know. We're not doing that, but you're still finding ways. I don't think there's a given answer. I think that we were talking earlier in one of the sessions about networking. The young lady asked if anybody knew Wynn Marsalis, or something like that, and I think about 20 of us had a connection, and so it is networking. I used to hate LinkedIn, but now I have to like LinkedIn, you know what I mean? So I think that finding ways, and his story is unbelievable. And I'm going to say, because you didn't say it before, how many of you saw his interview with his son on Inside Edition? See, you didn't, early in the session, when he was talking about his story, I had forgotten. I said, where do I know him from? And then I recognized that, wait a minute, I saw that story on Inside Edition. And so you need to find it. Crystal raised her hand. It's just an unbelievable story. And then I later asked him about how that story propelled him to not doing things even about that story, but about other things where people felt it would be useful to have him and his son come in. So, but it's all related to marketing and packaging, and I'm sure you've used that to get other gigs and things, right? Yeah. You got to tell that story sometime, didn't it?
I will also say, reaching out to your peers. You're at Berklee. I think Berklee is a great networking school. And 9 times out of 10, you're looking to pitch yourself to a label. You're looking to pitch yourself for a TV show. 9 times out of 10, someone from Berklee is going to work there. And reaching out to them, simply saying, hey, I noticed you went to Berklee, going on LinkedIn, saying, I realized you went to Berklee, I also went to Berklee, I was wondering if we could speak. That goes a very long way. I think that speaks highly, you'll find out, like when you get out of Berklee, just saying, I went to Berklee, I was in City Music, I've used that hundreds of times. Like that's what it's there for, you know. That's why we're here. That's how we take advantage of the opportunity that we're given.
Where do you want to pitch your music to? Yeah. Like, where do you feel where do you feel your music should be? But where do you want your music to be? Not the label. Where do you like? Yeah. Where do you want it to be? Do you want it to be in film? Do you want it to be? Which ones? Which ones? Yeah. When? Is the album done? Which producers? Okay. The reason why I'm asking these questions, because you as an artist, aspiring artist, you have to be able to identify these answers. Where do you be specific, because that's going to give you a direct path to what you really want. You know, you're going to shoot for the stars. You've heard this cliche a million times, and you're going to land on the moon. But you got to have that vision and that idea first. You know, oh, I want to get signed. To who? I can sign you right now. Somebody else can sign you too. But do you really want that? What do you really want? Who do you see yourself in your ethos? Where do you want your music to be placed? Think about that, because do you want it on weird STD ads? This one, you have to think about these kind of things. And again, that goes back to your brand. Who are you? Where do you see yourself? You're the vehicle, so where do you see that vehicle being parked over and over again? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much. I learned a lot from this. I hope you all learned something from this. It's been great. Yeah.
Thank you all. That was amazing. Learned a ton. We have about 10 minutes, and then we have our last session of the day, bringing the content. So I'll do a stretch, walk around, go outside, get some fresh air, and then we'll be back in 10 minutes.